All right, everybody, welcome back. In this video, we're going to install GitHub Desktop. Now, if you haven't installed Unity yet or Writer, go ahead and watch those videos and get those installed. So here I am on the GitHub Desktop website. Again, select whether you have a Windows or Mac. It should auto-detect it. I have a Silicon laptop, so I'm going to click on that. Just go through the settings. I'm going to hit allow and wait for that to finish downloading. Go to the download section and unzip it. And you can see here I have the icon. So I'm going to go ahead and double click GitHub Desktop and I'm going to open that up. And it was a pretty easy install for me. It should be roughly the same for you. The next thing you need to do is sign up for a GitHub account. I would recommend, again, signing up with GitHub as with your educational license or your educational email. So let's go ahead and do sign into github.com. Now you can do Google or you can do, again, with your student email, you can sign up with that by creating an account. It's a pretty straightforward. You click on create an account here and you run through the process of creating an account. I would definitely sign up for GitHub Copilot, even though I mentioned in previous videos that using AI, you should hold off on it, but this is just good so you have it set up for later. And another option is you can just sign up with Google because the account is free. But there are limitations. They give you a lot more space if you sign up with your student email and you sign up through their student program. But for this particular class, it's fine with you just signing in with Google. All right, so once you have it installed and you've signed in, you're approached with this Let's Get Started section. You can see here I have a ton of different games that I've been working on over time. What I'd like to do is just create a new repository. So over on the right hand side here, it says create a new repository in local drive. I'm going to click on that. By default, the local path they give you is this GitHub path. Now what we can do is we can just name it whatever you feel, like for, say you have a project like a game, a cool game idea, like, Tossing Pandas or something, like that's the name of your game. You could enter that name here. What I would suggest is for this particular class, or whatever course, name it whatever your course number is. I'm just going to do GSD for game studies. And under the git ignore, you want to go and make sure that you select Unity, and that's going to remove a lot of the meta files and things, not all of them, but the ones that are going to cause you merge conflicts. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Unity here. And under the license, MIT license is fine. And then go ahead and click create repository. And in the license part, to be honest with you, research the different ones. It depends on what access you want to give people. If is it open source, is it whatever. And go ahead and click create repository. And it's generally pretty quick. Now, if I click publish repository here, it's just going to say, where are we publishing it to? I want to publish to github.com. I'm going to hit publish repository. And then that'll push it up to my GitHub account. And what we can do is up at the top here, under repository, we can say open in view on GitHub. And if I click on that, you'll see here that this is the new code repository that was created on GitHub. Now, a lot of this can seem confusing, so I'd suggest, meeting with myself or if I'm not the instructor of the class, the instructor, or both of us, I'm always available, and just to see, well, how do you set this up? What I'm going to show you quickly is just how to push your first pass of your Unity project up to GitHub. So let's jump over to Unity and create a new project just to show you sort of how you could set that up. All right, here we are. I'm going to go ahead and click on new project here. And I'm going to select another 2D project. And instead of the location being in my Unity projects folder that I had set up before, because I want this particular one to not be local, but to be on my GitHub, I'm going to go to GitHub here, GSD, and I'm going to leave it in this GSD GitHub folder. And I'm going to hit select folder. And I'm going to go ahead and click create project and pause the video to let it, because it generally takes a little bit of time to get your Unity project up and running. All right, you can see here that we have our Unity project set up. We have our scenes, settings, things like that. So the next thing you want to do is you want to publish this project so other people can have access to it, or you yourself can do it. So let's jump over to GitHub Desktop. All right, here we are in GitHub Desktop. You can see these are all of the different project files that have now appeared that we'd like to upload. And you can see there's 44,220 projects. Now, hopefully our ignore file worked pretty well to block out the files that may cause us issues later. There are some other issues that we would have with ProBuilder and things like that that we'll cover later if we end up using that in the class. So what I'm going to do is just fetch origin to make sure I have the latest of whatever's on there. And then I'm going to just type in init. And this is generally what I write for initialization. And I'm going to commit these files. Now it says the following files are over 100 megabytes. If you commit these files, you will no longer be able to push the repository to github.com. The reason for that is because by default, you get 10 megabytes. And it's telling you the files are too large. So it says we recommend you avoid committing these files or you use git LFS. So let's click on that and see what that is. And it says about large files. So this is going to explain all of this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to install git bash and git LFS so that you can install large file sizes. All right, so the first thing we need to install is Homebrew. And you want to think of Homebrew as sort of like an app store that exists in your terminal. So instead of having to download like every package, file, or whatever on your Mac, you would just use Homebrew. And through a series of commands, you could install things like git LFS and things like that. So let's go ahead and install that. So here's our Homebrew file, or website rather, and I'm gonna go ahead and just click this copy button here. And then I'm going to jump into my terminal by hitting Command and Spacebar and just type terminal. And I'm going to run my terminal here. And here you could see, all right, here we are in our terminal. I'm going to go ahead and paste in that command that we just copied. I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to go ahead and allow it to. Now it's prompting me for my password. So probably will do the same for you. And it's prompting me what it's going to install. I'm okay with all of it. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And then let's do it one more time. Let it install the other components. So after typing my password and allowing it to have access to the various folders, it went ahead and installed. It went ahead and downloaded Homebrew. And so you're going to have to kind of go through these steps quite a bit. So I'm just going to pause the video and then just essentially authorize all of the other things that Homebrew needs. All right, now that Homebrew has been installed, let's go back to our git LFS website and grab the command to install git LFS. All right, so here we are on the git LFS website, and you can see this first option here. It says brew install git LFS because we installed Homebrew. So go ahead and just copy that. And then let's jump back into our terminal and run that command. So I'm just going to paste that in there, hit enter. Oh, we might have to restart our terminal. All right, I went ahead and restarted my terminal. I'm going to paste that command in and hit enter. And now you can see that it's downloading and it's installing it. And it says we have git LFS installed. Let's go back to the instructions on the page to walk us through how we can set up git LFS inside of our repo. So you can see here down at the bottom, we have a getting started guide, and we just ran git LFS installed. So it says in each Git repository you want to use git LFS, select the file types you'd like to manage or directly edit in your attributes. And so that you could see this is saying track PSDs, git attributes. And then it says note that defining file types for git LFS should track will not by itself convert any pre-existing files to git LFS, such as files on branches, so forth. So you have to kind of specify that for each one. All right, so what we're going to do now is specify the folder that has all of the large files that we want to track. So I'm just going to right click in my assets folder here, reveal in Finder. And what I want to do is I want to go to my project here, and I'm just going to go through all of these. Now, this isn't the most optimized way, but for a smaller project, it's completely fine to just have it run all of those. If you're working on a bigger company for a bigger project, they'll have their own instructions on how to set LFS up. So I'm going to right click on the folder, and in order to get the project directory or path, you have to actually hold Option key, and you could see you have copy my project as path name, and that's how I can get the path to this folder. So let's jump back into terminal and access that folder. All right, so I went ahead and just created a new terminal window. You can do that by going to shell rather, new window, and then click on that. And I'm just going to change directory, CD, and then into that path that we just copied. And now we're inside of this project. So let's use our git lfs command to just track everything in there. So this is the command we want, git lfs track and then a star here. And like I mentioned, this isn't the most optimal way of doing it. You really just want to track like individual files, PSD, things like that. It could give you errors later, but for the sake of this project and just trying to get you up and running, we're going to do it that way. Let's go ahead and press enter. And now it says it's essentially tracking everything within this folder. So let's jump over to GitHub Desktop and see if we can now push our files. I'm actually going to pause the video and reboot GitHub Desktop, restart the program rather. All right, so something I noticed when I opened GitHub Desktop is it says there's 46,471 changed files. And these project, like the library files, all this stuff, we don't want to check that in. So that means that my ignore file is not in the correct location. So let's go ahead, and what you can do here is just right click here and go to, let's see, reveal in Finder. And this will open up our thing here. Now, if you hit Command Shift and period, it'll show you hidden files. And if we go back, let's see, to my project here, let's see, you can see my git ignore is all the way outside of my project file. So I really need this inside of where my assets and my project settings and library and all of those are. So now when I go back to my GitHub Desktop, let's see how many files it ignores. So now you can see that it went from 46,000 to 55 files that need to be changed or that need to be checked in. So you have to be aware of this on both Mac and PC. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and type checking in Unity project, or we could just name it like Unity project check-in. Unity project commit is probably a better way of saying this. And then whatever description you want, initial project commit. And then if I commit these 5 files and then I push these to origin, we shouldn't have any issues with the larger file sizes, and it went pretty quickly. All right, let me jump over to GitHub Desktop to show you that those files have been uploaded to where we're storing them. All right, so here we are. I'm just going to reload the page. And you can see here now I have the Git attributes, I have my project here, and I can go inside of here and I have my assets and my scenes. And this is great because now when we go to upload larger file sizes, we can do that, like models, FBXs, all that good stuff, as well as audio and all of those things. So hopefully that was clear. And like I said, I'm going to do a follow-up video that sort of covers a lot of the same stuff again for PC.